everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is a bright and sunny autumn morning, and this morning I'm going to go and see my physio for the first time since I ran the 125km Scottish Highland Ultra with Beyond the Ultimate just under 3 weeks ago. My recovery has not been as quick as I would have hoped, as I think I alluded to on my previous vlog of day 3 and kind of the aftermath of the race. Unfortunately, just to recap, on day 1 of the race, about 16km in, I went over on my foot, and it wasn't like super painful at the time, but steadily as I ran more and more kilometers on it, I realized that there was definitely something wrong with it. It got really swollen. I lost like sight of my ankle. I ended up having cankles for a bit, and it just was really stiff. And so I was slightly worried that it was something that was going to need a little bit of extra help rather than just rest to get rid of. My usual thing for injuries is rest up, wait until the pain goes, go back to things slowly and kind of hope for the best. And for most injuries that sort of works for me, so long as it's just a bit of an overuse injury and not like something that I've got because I'm running wrong or because I'm wearing the wrong shoes or something like that. It tends to go away with a little bit of rest. And for this one, for the last 2.5 weeks, I've been really struggling. I am wearing Crocs all the time. And Crocs, if you don't know, they're like these. These are my gardening Crocs. They've got little bits of fluff on the inside, so they're nice and warm, but they're not like my ideal choice of shoes. And I've been having to wear them because wearing normal trainers, normal shoes of any kind really hurts on my foot. So I end up kind of limping because it's quite painful. It feels like I've got a massive blister on the back of my heel. And then the side of my foot, the outside of my right foot, feels like I've done something kind of somewhere between like what I assume is a tendon and the bone. It feels bruised, like the whole area feels really bruised and tender to the touch. And this is 2.5 weeks on from having done the injury. So usually I'd expect it to be feeling a lot better by now, and it's still not. So that's why I'm going to see my physio. Hopefully she'll have some answers for me and I'll be able to actually get back running soon. I think worst case scenario for me is that it's a stress fracture and that I've got to take off, you know, a lot more time than I would otherwise like for my running. But I've been really sensible thus far. I haven't run at all. I've run after the dog in my Crocs, but like really I've stayed off my feet as much as possible. I've only done one big day of walking. The rest have been just, you know, walking the dog here and there, and I've just been super sensible. I've also gone back to the gym recently, which is, if you guys have been subscribed to this channel for a while, you may know I used to go to the gym a lot more than I do now, and I've kind of been off regular gymming for the last 2 years or whatever. Obviously gyms were shut for a large amount of that time, but also I didn't really go back once they opened again. So I've sort of not been doing very much weightlifting, strength training and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going back, using this as an excuse and a reason to get back into strength and conditioning, strength training, lifting heavy, kind of to reduce my risk of injury in the future. And also because getting strong is such a good way of improving your paces and your resilience to the strain that ultras put on your body, which is a lot, by the way. It's a huge amount of strain. So by doing strength training, you reduce your risk of injury and also hopefully speed up the recovery from this one so that I'm not putting extra pressure on it by kind of jumping back in with running. So I'm gonna go and see Claire this morning and I will let her explain to you what I've done because I will probably not understand it. And then I'm going to go to the gym after that. I've just arrived in Bath and I'm walking to my physio appointment at the moment. Slightly nervous about what she's going to say, but I kind of had to run for the train a little bit. I'm currently wearing Crocs as per the last 3 weeks, and I could run in Crocs because they weren't pushing on any of the parts of my foot that hurt. So I'm hoping that it's not too bad whatever it is, because I managed to run for the train, so it can't be that bad. I'm just keeping all my fingers and toes crossed that I can get back to running as soon as possible, really, because I'm a bit lost without it. I mean, I've been going to the gym lots, which is really good, and I'm going to the gym after this as well, and it's going to be really good for getting up some more strength, and a good incentive as well, because obviously I'm a bit weak if I'm getting injured all the time. Yeah, just keeping all my fingers crossed that it's nothing serious and that I don't have to go for an x-ray or anything like that. I don't think it will be particularly serious, so hopefully all is good. Anyway, I will let you know, and I'll speak to Claire while I'm in there and have her opinion kind of shared with you guys so that you can see what's what. Oh, Christ. That's a lot more painful than it was last time.
Yeah, let's walk through that.
Oh, goodness me.
Just to free off that part. And then I'm just going to needle into that bit to release.
Okay.
Right. Needles.
Thank you so much for my amazing session today, Claire. It was incredible because I was genuinely very worried, and you always make me feel a lot more relaxed about whatever I've done to my body. I know a lot of my followers are quite interested in hearing about what ultras kind of do to the body and how much recovery people need afterwards. Like, do you have any information about what happens to the body during an ultra and after an ultra, and how people can best recover afterwards?
Ultras is another ball game to marathons because obviously it's much more mileage, and the main thing is because it's often undulating trails and up and down, it's actually the downhills that cause more trauma to our bodies because our muscles are actually lengthening, they're eccentrically loading while you're loading with your body weight onto it with the force of gravity, and you're also having to do your proprioception and your balance as you're coming down. So that can cause micro trauma to your muscles, and that's why it's so important after you've done an ultra is to have a bit of a rest afterwards, so you aid the recovery of getting rid of any free radicals or any micro trauma to the muscles, and also getting it released if you need to, or if you've picked up any injuries and everything else. The other thing to take into account is because you've had slight inflammatory processes taking place in your legs and everything else, it can have an actual effect on your actual body, your immune system as well. So often ultras, after an ultra, you can pick up a runny nose or a slight cold or something like that, just because your immune system just needs that little bit more recovery afterwards, and making sure you're getting your natural remedies or your lemon and antioxidants back into your body because of the effect of doing that extra ultra on your body, really. So it's important to do like your physio, making sure everything's biomechanically, because it's such a repetitive sport as well, going up and down, and you don't actually know what you're going to experience while you're doing it as well.
Yeah, okay, amazing. So when people come back from an ultra, they should really be taking it very easily.
It is difficult for you guys because obviously you kind of like, you've got your training in, you've got your distance and everything else, and you don't want to lose those training parts that you've got going so well, but you do need to do that recovery just because your body has gone through quite a lot with your fatigue, with your muscles, your heart and everything, really.
Okay, amazing, thank you. And to explain a little bit about what the hell I've done, you showed really well on the foot model like what I'd kind of injured and strained from going over my ankle on day one. Can you explain that to the camera a little bit as well? It'd be great for me to get it on camera as well so that I can remember what's actually wrong with me.
Of course, is what you did is when you were running, your ankle, so your ankle's like this, you went over on it and then you carried on running, and there's a tendon which is called peroneus longus and peroneus brevis as well. They come down and go into, the peroneus longus comes into the cuboid and across the foot, and peroneus brevis comes here. When you went over on it, you slightly damaged around the ligaments around here, but you also tightened up the leg and tightened through that area. Because it happened quite early on in your race, you carried on, but it still caused quite a bit of trauma through there and tightness through. So into the foot needed releasing, the little joints needed mobilizing, and freeing off the calf muscles needed, and then just doing a little bit of strengthening and everything afterwards. The other problem you slightly got is because you've gone over on it, where the Achilles comes in and attaches to the heel bone, which is the calcaneum, you've slightly bruised that little area, and that's why you've been having to live in your Crocs. So you don't aggravate your heel.
Okay, amazing. And this bit here was the bit really that was hurting.
Yeah, so it's very much by the cuboid, and that's the peroneus brevis, so that's the tubercle of the fifth metatarsal there. So you've just gone over there. The ankle then needed a little bit of gliding because it's gone over like that, and it just needed that bit of freeing up.
So it's really stiff.
So it's nice moving it through, releasing it on the physio bed, but also in a weight bearing position because that's what you're going to return to. Okay,
amazing. And what would you recommend to kind of reduce injuries in runners? You know, preventative measures.
I think very much doing your strength and conditioning. I think all the research has shown doing twice of that every single week, and as we know, one of our colleagues is really good at all that. And it's just, as I say, it makes such a massive difference to preventing injuries, really, because the muscle tone and you're getting the right muscle balance and everything. If you're feeling any pain or any discomfort at any time, it is a warning sign. So if it doesn't go away, it is important to go and get it checked out by a medical person, by a physio or whoever you use. Really.
Okay, physios really are the one.
Sports physios. Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
Well, I say that, but then,
of course you would.
Oh,
but I know you fixed me, so I'm very happy. Thank you, Claire. That's brilliant. Wow, that was such a good session. Literally, I'm like running for the train again, as per always in my life, and my ankle, I can move it. I didn't realise how stiff it was. If you guys watch the Highland Ultra vlog, you'll have seen that on the morning of day 2, I think it was, like, my whole ankle was so swollen I couldn't actually move it, and even after it kind of unswelled, the last 2.5 weeks I've been really struggling to get any sort of mobility, but I hadn't really noticed how bad it was until she's now just released it, and like I can move my foot. It's not just a lump at the end of my leg anymore. This is so nice. So yes, do definitely visit a physio if you have any niggles, because the amount of stuff that a good physio can do to prevent you having to then get like an MRI or go to a doctor or get surgery, it's just incredible. They really are absolute magicians. My physio in London was incredible. If you are London based, definitely check out Physio Motion Limited. This was Claire Weller from Bath, who I know a lot of my elite athlete friends also go and visit, so she really knows what she's doing. She's been working with elite athletes for yonks. It's good to know that I can get back to running. What she said was basically really slow, take it very easy and not very long runs, which is fine with me. I think I'll just go out for like ploddy 5Ks here and there, but it's really good to know that by continuing to run on it, I'm not actually going to harm it permanently, because that was sort of my concern. You know, if it's a stress fracture, you don't want to be running on it more, obviously. So I genuinely thought that it was going to be a stress fracture because it was on the bone, but it turns out it was actually where the tendon was rubbing on the bone and where my Achilles was also rubbing on the bone. Oh my God, it's so loud. Sorry, one sec. I'm running. I'm running. Okay, we're past the loud bit. So the reason that it felt like it was actually on the bone was because of what the tendons were doing, because the tendons were injured, not because the bone's injured, if that makes sense. So it's good news all round, great news in fact, and as you can tell, I'm very happy that I can do things again. But first of all, I'm going back to the gym. So I've just arrived at the gym for a session, and I don't really have a program at the moment, but I am supposed to be testing out my max lifts today, which like really doesn't feel like the right day for it, but it's just basically so that I can get like a benchmark of where I'm at the moment, so that I can start to do a program with the right weights, and hopefully I'll be lifting heavy. Like that is kind of the goal, because I've never really done that before. Like I used to do bits and bobs here and there for you know, a few months, maybe like 3 or 4 months. I did some quite heavy lifts, but since then I've basically just been doing cardio, and although I love weightlifting, it never gives me the same buzz that actual running does. So, but as Claire said, it's so important to get in strength and conditioning, and I know my coach Holly really is an advocate for lifting heavy, mainly as a way to reduce DOMs. So if you're doing like really high reps of low weights, there's going to be more muscle wear than if you're doing lower reps of higher weights. So that's kind of why I need to test out my heaviest lifts at the moment, so that I can put that in and start doing like 65, 75, 85% of those weights, I think. Like, I'm definitely not the expert at this, but anyway, I'm just gonna have a little bit of a play around, see what's what, and see what I can do.
sort of some heavy-ish, for me, lifts, squatting and trap bar deadlift. The reason I use the trap bar is it's what's recommended by my coach, because conventional deadlifts require a lot more time to recover from than trap bar deadlifts. So I'm just doing the trap bar to make sure that I'm still getting the strength benefits, but not basically destroying my body to the point that I won't be able to do the running as well, because obviously running uses your legs, and if you've got like the worst DOMs of your life, then you're not going to be able to do that. I'll talk a little bit more about balancing running and lifting in later vlogs when I've spoken to my coach and know actually what I'm doing, because at the moment I've got absolutely no idea. So I'll discuss that later, but for now I've done those two. I did 80 kilos, only 2 reps, but 2 reps of 80 kilo deadlifts and 4 reps of 60 kilo squats after some warm-up sets, which, you know, it's not great compared to where I used to be, but it's not bad considering I've not done anything for 2 years. So it is what it is. It's where I'm at the moment, and hopefully I'll be able to improve from that position, because power is so important when it comes to running, whether you're sprinting or you're doing ultramarathons, and as Claire mentioned, obviously in terms of injury prevention as well. So yeah, hopefully I'll be getting stronger very, very, very quickly, because I've not been to the gym for a really long time. So all of this is kind of new-ish for my body at the moment. But I'm going to go and do some stretching now and then head on home.
I'm back! I made it! I did the gym, it was great. Feels sort of ironic that as soon as I find out that I can run again, I go back to the gym and don't go on a run. But the gym is not hurting my foot at all at the moment. I just do it in socks and I have no problem. So that's great. It's my 7th visit to the gym this month, which is like a lot for me. That's like every other day. It's kind of probably equals the amount that I've been to the gym for the rest of this year combined, which is slightly embarrassing. But anyway, we're back to it, better late than never. And one thing I actually wanted to discuss quickly before signing off for the day is gym anxiety. I used to go to the gym a lot, as I mentioned previously, and I felt completely at home. I knew what I was doing, I had a program, I knew everyone there because you kind of see the same people day in, day out, and like would just say hi to people and then just put my headphones in and get on with whatever I'm doing. And now I'm in a different city, I'm at a different gym, everyone's really nice, but I definitely feel a sense of anxiety. I think due to the fact that I've been away for so long and I haven't been lifting heavy in a really long time. I'm trying now, and trying new things that you're not necessarily very good at can feel really intimidating, especially if you're doing it with loads of other people around you that you kind of feel maybe are staring at you or kind of judging you, looking your way in a funny way, and it's quite intimidating sometimes. And I felt this way before and I dealt with it, and so I'd like to kind of discuss some of my ways of getting over the fear. I think it's called like gymtimidation, which is a great word. Hopefully, if you guys are inspired to go back to the gym and get in some strength and conditioning training, whether it is just as part of your running training or to get some PBs or whatever it is, gymtimidation may be a factor, and so I'd love to share these tips with you. And if you have any tips of your own as well, make sure to comment them down below so that if anyone is watching this, they can benefit off your amazing knowledge. First thing is probably no one's watching you, and definitely no one cares, and I mean this in the nicest way. No one's looking at you and thinking, she's doing that wrong. And if they are, they probably will have forgotten within about 30 seconds, and you have as much right as anyone else to be there. You're all paying the same membership fee. You have every right to be there, and you need to remember that. So if you think that people are looking at you, they're probably in their head, they're probably actually just looking in your general direction, but they're probably up here somewhere thinking about what they're doing next and probably not thinking about what you're doing. My second tip is, as I mentioned previously, headphones. They're really good for blocking out distractions, but they're also really good for blocking out negative thoughts and like whatever's going on around you. I tend to literally just like shove on my headphones and ignore the world around me. Once my headphones are on, I'm in my own little space and I can just get on with what I'm doing. Headphones are a great thing. My third one is have a plan. It can be quite difficult if you go into a gym and you're like, oh well, I'll just do some things. If you go into a gym and don't really have a plan, chances are you won't really get a good workout, but also you might be like floating around the place, not entirely sure where you're going next, not entirely sure what you should be doing, and kind of floating around feels quite awkward and you think, oh, maybe everyone's looking at me, or like I'm getting in the way or whatever. Whereas if you know you're going from one machine to another piece of equipment to the floor section, you're doing those things, that is your plan, and kind of no one can get in the way of that. So I think having a plan is a really good way of feeling more focused in the gym and getting things done and being less worried about what other people are thinking of you. My next one is that everyone starts somewhere. So if you see someone who's in the gym and they look super chilled, super at home there, chances are at some point in their life they were lifting really light weights, they had no idea like what half the machines did, and they did not feel at home. They probably felt the same amount of intimidation as you feel. So even if they're completely jacked and they look like they know exactly what they're doing and they're saying hi to everyone else in there, they started somewhere as well. So don't feel intimidated by those people. Instead, try and look at them as aspirational or inspirational, or just like ignore them entirely. I think rather than thinking of people like being confident as a negative thing, think, okay, that's really cool. They're in here, they're super confident with what they're doing, so maybe I can be like that too. I think that's a really good way of kind of reframing that negative emotions towards that person, and chances are like they will have lifted really light weights and they had no idea what they were doing as well. So just like take comfort in the fact that they were in the same position as you are now at some point in their life, and you can be in the same position as they are at some point in the future. It's a journey for everyone. My next tip is to get a gym tour before starting, because there's nothing more awkward than, no, there are some things more awkward, but there's very few things more awkward than wandering around the gym like trying to do some bits and then not being able to find the equipment and then not knowing where the other things are kept and then just like wandering around, and then it's an hour later and you've done absolutely nothing because you've been trying to look for things. So ask for a gym tour before starting, speak to the personal trainers, figure out what each of the machines do and which ones you need and which ones you just don't need, and then you kind of know where you're going. You don't feel so lost in the gym. My next tip is not to be afraid of asking for help. So there are lots of personal trainers in many gyms who will be wandering around, or the gym staff on the floors of the gym, not on the floor, but you know what I mean, like hanging out and asking for advice on training form or what machines are supposed to do. That's what they're there for. So if you are a little bit confused or you want someone to check that you're doing something okay, then that's a really good place to start. If you feel too intimidated to talk to them, then have a look on YouTube. YouTube has some amazing kind of information about form for squatting, deadlifting, press ups, like whatever it is that you're doing, just so that you know that you're doing it right. And I think like knowledge is power. So the more you know about what you're doing, the less intimidated you're going to feel, because actually you know like better than anyone how you can do that bit of training. So yeah, definitely knowledge is power. Either ask the PTs or Google it. My next tip is, if you don't know what you're doing in the gym and you don't really want to be there by yourself, because I know going to the gym alone can be quite intimidating, is join a class. Like everyone just is focused on whatever they're doing. They are completely self-absorbed in the best possible way during a fitness class, because they need to be going from one thing to the next. They're completely focused on what they're doing. They're not looking around, they're not looking at you, and they're certainly not judging you. Join a class. It means someone else can tell you what to do. You just do it. And then if you need help, they can give you help because they are there to help you. They're not judging you, they're just assisting with the exercises that you need assistance on. And that's a really good way also of learning how to do different training moves and getting the right form, because you can watch someone who's a professional doing it before you. And I think my last piece of advice is to wear clothes you feel comfortable in, even if everyone there is in like their Lululemon leggings or short shorts or like wife beaters and they've got big muscles, guys, probably not gals. It doesn't mean that you have to try and copy what they're doing, and it doesn't mean that you have to feel self-conscious for whatever you're wearing. Like a lot of the time I hate wearing loads of clothes, so in the gym I'll tend to wear shorts and a crop top or like a sports bra or something, just because I feel like things get in the way. But a lot of people, like today I arrived wearing baggy trackies and a big top, so you know I did all my warm-up everything in trackies and a top and with my Crocs. And so wearing what you feel comfortable in is absolutely valid and perfectly fine, so don't feel intimidated by other people just wearing different things to you. It's most important that you are comfortable wearing whatever you're wearing. The one caveat to that, I would think, is shoes. Obviously if you're going to be doing a lot of lifting, having flat shoes, not running shoes, is really important. Or do what I do and wear socks, but not all gyms allow that. So if you have some really flat lifting shoes or barefoot shoes, they're really good for activating the right muscles so that you don't have like that much squished below your heels. But other than that, wear whatever, no one cares, no one's looking at you anyway. So yeah, it doesn't matter. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. I have to say I personally am delighted that I can run again, and I will be giving that a go soon, and obviously bringing you guys along with me so that I can share the experience of being back to running for the first time in 3 weeks. weeks. The kind of roundup summary of what I would say about going back to the gym, if you guys are tempted to do it as well, is literally no one cares. And I mean this really in the nicest possible way, but if you are worried about the way that you come across in the gym, no one cares. So you just stick in your big headphones, get on with your training, get on with your program, whatever it is, and you do you and have fun with it as well, because there is something very empowering, I think, about going to the gym and knowing what you're doing and heavy lifting and just like sticking on some good music and doing it. So do let me know if you are gonna be getting strong this winter. That is my goal. I will be running, of course, but I'll also be doing concurrent strength training alongside that to reduce injuries, to get fitter, and so that I can hit the ground running literally when it comes to the new year. So if you let me know if you guys are going to be doing that too. I will of course be sharing my gym training routines when I'm doing a little bit more than literally just like squatting and deadlifting, and when I actually know what I'm doing. But for now, if you enjoyed this video, please do hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button as well. I will be doing plenty more running vlogs and strength training vlogs coming up, and I will bring you on my next run with me as well, and fingers crossed it is all fine. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!